Hey everybody, so we're going to be talking about reflection in PACT. And I wanted just to start out by showing you again the website for PACT, which is pacttpa.org, and also point you to the teaching event handbooks and the rubrics. So all of these kind of supporting documents for candidates, which is you. We're going to get to academic language here in a little bit in the next video, but wanted to just point you again to these teaching event handbooks where we're going to be focusing on a lot of the information. I'm going to click on just one of them. I think I'm just going to choose science. They're all pretty much the same to that extent, and I'll download that while we're waiting. And really just point you in the direction of seeing what the requirements are. So you've gone over all of these before, and you have this. And so just to focus you again, so task 5 is reflecting on teaching and learning. You're going to be putting daily reflections in for each lesson, for each day, those 3 to 5 lesson plans that you're doing, and there'll also be a commentary about what you've learned from the teaching segment. So if we skip to that section, sorry, close your eyes if you get sick, motion sickness from this, but there's some of the things on assessment that we covered already. And so this reflecting part is actually quite important, because it is really the time that you get to explain what are those changes that you made, or what did you feel like right after the lesson that you are going to be talking about and responding to. So for each lesson that you're doing, you're going to have a daily reflection. And what this is asking for, you're reflecting on your your experience teaching the learning segment in light of your observations of the effectiveness of your teaching practice in helping your students learn, and the theoretical perspectives and research principles that you learned during teacher preparation. So these are the pieces. When I talked about your learning theorists and having access to that information, this will be relied upon heavily in this section. And so you're going to have daily reflections, and then you're also going to have a reflection commentary. So the prompts for your reflection commentary are here, and you can also find them in TaskStream as well. And so what I'd like to do also, and it has you also cite back to things that you've done in previous events in your teaching events, so you'll need to be making some of those direct connections. But this whole section is only going to be 3 to 5 pages. Okay, we'll get to the glossary in just a second. One of the things, and I've gone through, let's see, and here is the English Language Arts rubric. I'm not sure if it's the most recent one, but it's from 2010, 2011. It may be minor updates and minor changes, but this is a rubric that should be similar across all of the different content areas. And so I'm trying to grab something from each of the different areas to show you how they're similar. We'll do that, yeah, when we get to those. And so if we take a look here at level 3, and remember you only need a 2, but the question for the reflection, and this is rubric number 9, how does the candidate monitor student learning and make appropriate adjustments in instruction during the learning segment? So your daily reflections, and so this is what we're focusing on here, indicate that you are monitoring student progress towards meeting the standards or objective for the learning segment. Basically what that means is, what I would suggest is talking about the assessments that you put in your lesson and how you're finding information and using that information about student learning. And then it's asking you to adjust instruction focused on addressing some of the individual and collective learning needs. And so what are your plans for tomorrow based upon what just happened today? Okay, if you want to go for the level 4, it's asking about students to deepening key skills and understandings. Okay, and especially here, and this is pertaining to English and interpreting and responding to complex features of a text. But these are the kind of things to be looking for. And again, in your responses, in your reflections, in your commentary responses, the more that you use this language and give it back to the evaluator, the more they're going to be able to tie it to a particular place on the rubric. Also for reflection. So, reflecting on learning. How does the candidate use research, theory, and reflections on teaching and learning to guide your practice? Again, sound knowledge of research and theory linked to knowledge of students. And this part for number 3 is the same as the level 2. Changes in teaching practice are based upon reasonable assumptions about how student learning was affected by planning. You know, it's hard to define what a reasonable assumption is, but it has to be something that was related to what they did and also perhaps to the learning theory. But if you go to the level 4, changes in teaching practices are specific and strategic to improve individual and collective understanding of students. So in these sections, if you start to actually talk about individual students, and maybe it's some of your target students that you've collected, or it's a subgroup of students and how you can change something in the next lesson to reach them better. This is going to take you more towards that level 4. So what I have are a couple examples. And this is something to kind of, again, read or pause your player, read it. And I'll scroll through it a little bit, but this is an example of, I would think, is a pretty good daily reflection. And these prompts are really good, and I can't quite recall where they come from. I don't know if they're from within PACT or if it's something that we did previously, but that's what I always share with everybody, is this prompt of what is working, what is not, for whom, and why. So these are kind of just a nice way to be organizing your daily reflections. And again, it says consider teaching and student learning with respect to both content and academic language development. We're going to talk about academic language again, but in the next video. But the more that you can point your evaluator to where you are working on academic language and making it explicit, the better off you're going to be on that rubric as well. So here, I'll scroll through here and go ahead and pause it and read it. And I'll scroll to the next part as well. And one more. Okay, so if you've paused it, read it, you have an idea about how this person used their daily reflection. And let me point especially to this section here. As for tomorrow's lesson, day 2, I need to do this. If it's clear students don't understand or they have misconceptions about the material, I need to reteach the critical information. Okay? And again here, they're even referencing down the line. Wednesday's lesson, day 3, is similar to this one. I need to be thinking about these things. These are all good types of reflection. I wanted to give you an example of one more. And this is from math. And again, these leading questions are there. I'm kind of thinking they're probably from task stream. So, but they're a nice way to organize your reflections. And so I'll scroll through this and go ahead and pause it and read, and then continue, and I'll scroll some more. That's a nice strategy right there. And here's an example of bringing out strategies for an individual student. I think we can look at day 2. And so here's another nice piece of kind of formative feedback. I needed to include more concrete examples of equivalent fractions before moving on. Those are the kind of things that your evaluators are looking for, to be very reflective about things that may not have worked and strategies that you could think of on how to fix it. Okay, so that's some examples of some reflections. It's not a whole lot. I mean, you can take a look at just even the text. Say these are really kind of even brief reflections, but it fits within the 3 to 5 pages that they're asking for. I guess, well, that's for the commentary. So I would say if you want to target your reflection to be about at least a half to 3/4 of a page single spaced, as long as you're really kind of answering these guiding questions. Okay, so next we'll go on also to academic language, but keep in mind too that for the reflections, the commentaries are going to be the place where you really bring in all of that information about the learning theorists as well. Okay?